Ben, and he's like, "Oh, look, a clock. We don't have that in America." And welcome back to 7 Points Podcast. My name is Jayton May, and this is 7 Points Podcast, joined by Quentin Crisco. How are we doing tonight, Quentin?
I'm doing good, Jay. You can follow me on Twitter at Bucket Stats. You can follow the pod on Twitter at shaving_points. That's PTS_pod. Go follow our Reddit. Go follow our Instagram. Go follow our TikTok. We got stuff going out everywhere. But, Jayden, did you hear about the kidnapping at the school?
I did not.
Yeah, he woke up.
that was a dark joke that took a turn for the best. So I appreciate that humor turn right there. You can follow me on Twitter at JMA56. All of my antics, all of my shenanigans you can catch there. But welcome to the podcast. Greatest podcast on the internet, hosted by two bald guys with beards. It's a actual fact. Can't disprove it. So, want to thank everybody for joining us. And this week we were going to talk a little NHL, NBA. Going to kind of touch on those a little bit, but mainly the focus of this week, we're talking about the AFC West, best division in football. Come join the boys, like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments who you think is going to win the AFC West and why. The most loaded division in football, four of the best quarterbacks in football, four of the best wide receiver cores in football, some of the best defensive lines in football, some of the best offensive lines in football. This is the absolute best division in football. So let us know who's going to win and why in the comments. Let us know on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, any social media platform, wherever you're watching this. Let us know who's going to win the division before we break it down. Be the first one there, so you can be like, I was the first one here, letting you know who's going to win the division, because it's up in the air. And there's so much to be said about this division. I'm so excited to break it down. But before we get there, let's talk a little bit about we've been doing a little bit of game of the day, game of the weeks. I don't know how to explain it. We've been giving up picks every day on the social media platforms.
Free picks, 1 to 2 free picks every day.
In the past week, we're up 4 units. That means in the past 7 days, if you're betting $100 a bet in the past 7 days, you're at $400. $400. So follow us, like, subscribe, follow us on all our social media platforms, and you can win $400 a week in your bets. And let's look into a little bit of hockey. We got the Eastern Conference Finals going on, Western Conference Finals going on. You got the teams, and you got the other teams, and Connor McDavid's so good, but they're probably going to lose because the Lightning are good. And then you look at the other side, and those teams are good, and the other teams are good, and that's hockey.
Some groundbreaking analysis there.
Hey, do better for me then. You're from Chicago. You know hockey. Break it down for us.
So, I can't believe that McDavid got shut out tonight, that the Oilers got shut out tonight.
Hey, 4-0.
I didn't expect them to win, but I figured any game that the Oilers were in with the way that offense is chugging, they're going to be putting up points no matter what. So you got to put up points to beat them. That's why I liked the over 7.5 tonight. But, oh well, we'll get over it. The Rangers continue to win at home.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they'll win the series, but they look good at home in that game 1. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, and that's talking hockey. Let's go to NBA. So, Warriors, game 1, dominating the entire game. Absolutely dominating. Get blown out in the fourth quarter. Celtics take a 1-0 lead. How do you think that changes things for the series?
Dude, I was just shocked, man.
If you ask anybody, I would say Warriors win game one, take a 1-0
Yeah.
lead. I don't think anybody would argue on that. But now Celtics have home court advantage.
Dude, the Warriors just dominated the third quarter. I thought that they were like that
Warriors
was the
dominated the
game.
entire game, really. I mean,
It
not just
was
the first
close.
quarter.
It was close at half, and in the third quarter they really pulled away. And I
Yeah,
thought that was the end of it. And I looked away. We were doing our pre-show, and I looked back up, and the Celtics are winning with 4 minutes left. And I'm like, how did this happen? The Warriors
yeah.
were up like 14 or something.
Hey, and the Celtics ended up winning by 12. Celtics won by 12. Like, it ended up not even being close by the time it was all said and done. Like, they absolutely dominated the fourth quarter. Like, just destroyed these kids in the fourth quarter. And so 40 to 16. Outrageous, just
Yeah.
absolute domination in the fourth quarter. And when you see something like that, when you look at a series, you got to win 4 games. Celtics now have home court. We took Celtics, like we talked about this last week with Chris Rains on the show. Shout out Chris Rains, one of the best basketball minds. He doesn't do social media, so you can't go follow him. But shout out Chris Rains, one of the best basketball minds we know, told us watch out for the Celtics team, and they showed it in the fourth quarter. Here they showed up 40 to 16 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they just dominated. I still can't believe it. I go back and see what exactly happened because I missed it. I looked away, I looked back, they were suddenly winning, and they were down by 14 the last time I saw
I
before
had
that.
a lot of things going on today. I wasn't watching it closely. I was watching it on my phone. I was watching live score updates. I never had the game on. I never watched the game physically, but going into the fourth quarter, we jumped on the pre-show, and I was like, okay, Warriors won this game. That's to be expected. Warriors win game one. They go up 1-0, but the Celtics team is dangerous, and a 1-0 lead for the Warriors with a home game means nothing. The fact that the Celtics took this game, feeling pretty good about that 6-1 bet. Like, I'll tell you what, 6-1 looking pretty good right now. Jaylen Brown and the boys, I don't know, Jason Tatum, Finals MVP. I have a Jason Tatum Finals MVP 24-1 bet that I made in the second round. So
Me too.
Let's go, Jason Tatum. But that's talking NBA. So if you're here for NBA, if you're here for hockey, then keep listening because the NFL talk's just going to get even better.
Oh yeah. Let's jump into some AFC West, man.
Let's jump into this AFC West. What team we got up first?
The
We got
Raiders.
the Las Vegas Raiders up first. One of the most interesting teams in the AFC West. One of the most interesting teams in football right now. Josh McDaniels. All right. The boy wonder. The coach that can do no wrong. The coach that went to the Broncos, that took Tim Tebow to a playoff win versus one of the best Steelers teams in the 2000s. We're talking about a Steelers team that was the #1 seed with Ben Roethlisberger and all the boys. And they went in there with Tim Tebow and Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace. But they went in there and they beat the boys in black and gold. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. That same Josh McDaniels. The same Josh McDaniels that made Tim Tebow a legend of the game is coaching those Oakland Raiders, boy. And let me tell you, man, Derek Carr has never really had the respect that he deserves. He's been good, not great. Good, not great. But he's always done what needed to be done. What happens to Derek Carr whenever Josh McDaniels steps into the system and you get a guy like Devontae Adams walking in? I'm so excited for this team.
Is there a better pair of pass catchers in the NFL, like receiver, tight end, just combine the two, than Devontae Adams and Darren Waller?
I mean,
I was running numbers on this the other day, just like looking through it, and they have a legitimate argument for the best combo of pass catchers in the NFL.
It's hard to gauge Devontae Adams because he's been with subjectively the greatest thrower of the football that we've ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into account. But Devontae Adams has been incredible in his young career. But he's never played with a guy like Darren Waller.
If anything, I'd say the biggest question with Devontae to me is scheme-wise. Like that scheme that he was playing with under Matt LaFleur in Green Bay really gave him all the opportunities he could ask for. But with Josh McDaniels, I don't think you're that worried about the scheme being downgraded.
So look at this Raiders offense. Like, forget about Devontae Adams. Forget about Waller. Hunter Renfrow. That dude's a baller.
He doesn't get enough respect. Dude is good.
Dude, what do you have last year? Like 87 catches, 900 yards, and 6 touchdowns?
Something
like that as the third receiver. And now he's going to be number 3 to Devontae Adams.
And DeMarcus Robinson. He's really number 3 behind Waller when you include tight end.
I mean, he's number 3 in the pecking order. If you look at the actual roster, he's not number 3, but in the pecking order of where the ball is going on each given play, we're talking about a guy who can get it open at any time. He's an absolute monster in third down, absolute monster in the red zone, he's a guy who can get open. He's a safety blanket. He has rapport with your quarterback, who you paid a ton of money to 7 years ago, who's still making money.
I think they just extended him.
Yeah, Derek Carr with his eyeliner and with his eye black, like everything about Derek Carr. You look at Derek Carr and you're like, he's never going to be the guy. But like, he might be the guy. We don't know.
Dude, I thought he was the guy before he broke his leg. That year was that 2015?
I love Josh McDaniels. This might be the year. This might be the year that the Raiders take that next step, because we've been looking at this Raiders team for the past 3 years as like, okay, what are they going to do? Like, you have Gruden. You have, who was their GM? ESPN guy is gone now.
Mike Mayock.
Yeah, Mayock out the door. They took Cleveland Farrell. What a boneheaded pick by them. But, I mean, they made a lot of bad moves in the draft. But building this team, they did a pretty good job. This team is solid. And you bring in a Josh McDaniels on this team, they have a good offensive line. They have a good receiving core. They have a good tight end.
I'm not as sold on that offensive line. Colton Miller's good.
Yeah, I mean, agree to disagree, but, I mean, I love Josh Jacobs at running back.
Yeah.
Like,
Dylan Parham's going to help that O-line. He's not listed there. He'll take over one of the guard spots.
I love Dylan Parham. I think he's going to be a day one starter. I think he's a mauler. I think they'll be able to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. I think their head coach is more than capable of figuring out a week-by-week system to run this offense. Like, one thing that the Patriots have always been good at is changing what they do every single week based on the skills of their offense compared to the strengths of the defense they're going against. And I think Josh McDaniels had a lot to do with that.
Oh, he absolutely did.
I think this offense has more than enough talent to – it doesn't matter what defense they're going against. They're going to be able to find the weaknesses of every single defense they go against, using their strengths, and absolutely torch defenses in the AFC. And this Las Vegas Raiders team is going to be dangerous in the AFC.
I think they're going to be challengers. Absolutely.
You don't think they'll be dangerous?
I mean, yeah, a lot of teams are dangerous, but I'm not sold that they're necessarily a playoff team yet. I think they're close, and they might be. You know, I'm riding the fence with them. I'm going to be honest.
Before we get into the rest of the division, how do you see this team faring in a division as good as the AFC West?
Third to fourth place.
Third to fourth place.
It's not so much a doubt of them as it is a doubt of their ability to stack up to that division. Like any other division, I think they're going to fare a lot better than that. But
There's some
someone
big
has
names
to
in that
finish in
division.
third and fourth in this division. And
Somebody
I'm
does, yeah.
just looking at their roster, like, you need a hell of a job coaching this team
So
to
we
finish
definitely
higher up here.
this is one of those divisions where we're gonna have to circle back all four teams after we've discussed all four teams and make an argument, because I don't want to start arguing against other teams we haven't talked about yet. And I
Right.
know we haven't really broken down the defense yet, but I think this is one of those divisions where we just have to move on to the next team. And then after we've talked about all four teams, kind of break it down from there, because I think that's the only way we can talk about this division.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about their defense first, though.
You want to talk about the defense first?
Yeah. Before
So
we
you got
move
Mason
on,
Crosby, beast.
Max Crosby. Mason Crosby's the kicker.
I knew it. I was just saying if you knew it. I was just keeping you on your toes there.
I appreciate it.
Rocky
Chandler
Smith.
Jones across from him. It's a big get. It's a big get.
Yeah, I mean Chandler Jones absolutely ate Taylor Lewan's lunch last year. Taylor Lewan, one of the best offensive tackles in the league, absolutely ate his lunch last year. Pour one out for the boys on
week
that
one.
one. Pour one out for the boys on that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, all in all, nothing too impressive. They have talent kind of everywhere, but they don't really have that. They don't have the superstar that other
Yeah.
teams in this
I mean,
division have.
Trevon Mayrig's a good safety. He looked good as a rookie.
Solid.
Abram,
I mean,
you're still waiting. You're still waiting to see for Abram to really show outside of just illegal hits.
You can look at any position on this team and look at any other team in this division and point at better players on other teams.
Yeah.
Just within the division, not even within the league. Like, this defense is going to make or break the trajectory of this team. Because I think if this defense can be good, not great, that can be the difference between this team being a 6-11 team and an 11-6 team.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this could be a division where you don't see anyone winning fewer than 7 games. Like, I think they're just going to beat each other to hell.
And a bubble, yes, yeah. But teams are going to lose games they shouldn't, and we can get more into that as we get deeper into the division. That's what I was kind of saying. Like, I want to kind of break down each team before we really get into what's going to happen in this division.
So we'll circle back to their schedules.
This division is so freaking deep that you can do a deep dive into each individual team and argue about why each team is going to be the number one team in the AFC, and also argue why each team is not even going to win the division. And I don't think we've seen a division as deep as the AFC West in 2022, and probably ever. Then I started thinking about it. I don't think we've ever seen a division this deep. If you look at the quarterback play, so NFC West of a couple of years ago is very, very deep, but Arizona, that was before Kyler Murray got to Arizona. And before that, like, if you look at a 4-team division, you've never seen a 4-team division to where, like, I would say respectively that, like, Derek Carr is probably the worst quarterback in that division right now. And Derek Carr's a top 13 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, probably around there.
So
that's a fair statement.
You have a top 15 quarterback, and you have the worst quarterback in a 4-team division. It's pretty hard to do in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I mean, we gotta break down this entire division, I think, before we get to win totals.
Let's just go offense, defense on each team, and then we'll come back to the schedules and win totals.
I'm completely down for that. So who we got next on the Los Angeles Chargers? All right. So I've been saying this for the past 4 weeks. On paper, best team of football.
It's up there. So it's definitely up there.
This is a team. Let's start at their defense. Okay. At safety, Derwin James, Nasir Adderley, JT Woods, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Sebastian Joseph Day, J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel Jr., Like, these are all names that the average football fan knows, and these are all studs. Studs! And these
So
are the
my main
starters
question
for
comes on the
the
interior
Los
D line there.
Angeles Chargers.
Like I
Yeah,
just like
I mean,
the one weakness I see on this team, and there's only one, is whether they'll be able to stop the run with a head coach who has shown he doesn't care if he stops the run or not. Like, that
yeah.
could come back to bite them at some point. But outside of that, the interior on this D line, they're just stacked everywhere.
So they're solid at linebacker, they're solid at safety, they're solid at D ends, like, and we're talking about a team that can't stop the run in a division that is built to air out the football. So even if they can't stop the run, at worst case scenario, that should be something that hurts them in the playoffs, not the regular season. This is a team that I can see having a monster regular season, going like 15-2. This is also a team, historically speaking, we're talking about a very young team here, and I always hate to compare young teams to teams of past, but like, it's always just weird to think that the Chargers are ever going to be more than what they are, because I mean, you look at Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and like, he never did anything with the Chargers. You look at who's the dude with the beard back in the 80s and 90s with the Chargers. Didn't do anything. One of the best quarterbacks of all time. What is his name? I mean, he's all-time great.
Oh God, I can't believe I'm
just
forgetting it.
slinging the rock, man. Like, what is his name?
It was in the Air Coryell.
Yeah, Air Coryell. Like, they've had
Dan Fouts.
Dan Fouts. They've had the names, they've had the talent, and they've never done it. And are the Chargers cursed? I don't know, but this team on paper can prove whether or not the Chargers are cursed, because by golly, if this team can't get it done, I don't know who can.
Yeah. Flipping over to the offense, like, that O-line in 2 years has gone from a serious weakness to a serious strength. Like, Rashawn Slater, Corey Linsley, Zion Johnson, those three guys are cornerstone offensive linemen.
Pipkins is great at right tackle.
I wouldn't go that far, but you can cover up one spot as long as the others are good.
I mean, I like him at right tackle. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you listen to any of this podcast, I mean, you know how in love I am with Rashawn Slater. He's one of my favorite players in the league. One of my favorite young players in the league. I've been on record saying I would have rather drafted him last year as a Dallas Cowboy fan over the best defensive player in football right now, which we won't name because we haven't got there yet. But I love Rashawn Slater. He's an absolute mauler. He dominated last year at that left tackle spot. I absolutely love Rashawn Slater. And then, I mean, Keenan Allen has been consistent. Like, it's a health thing with Keenan Allen. If he can stay healthy, he's a top 5 receiver in football. If he can't stay healthy,
he's stayed healthy the last few years, like, pretty consistently. It was earlier in his career that he was always a question mark.
And he's been very, very good. Mike Williams last year, first 7 weeks of the season, best receiver in football, got hurt. Gerald Everett, gotta stay healthy. Austin Eckler, gotta stay healthy.
Yep.
Justin Herbert, we'll see.
That depth at wide receiver is a little light beyond these first 3 guys, which is a concern when you're talking about a guy like Mike Williams, who's dealt with multiple injuries. But
looking at wide receiver right now, like, I think the trade value for wide receiver right now, you can get a lot for a little. We can be looking at week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, giving up 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks for good to average wide receivers. I think you can find wide receiver midway through the season if you're willing to give up a little bit of draft capital. And I think you can go get a guy like Allen Robinson, or maybe not Allen Robinson because he's with the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams ain't moving him, but
You can go get a wide receiver halfway through the season for third, fourth, fifth round pick that can immediately contribute to your team. So
Well,
I like the
especially
wide
with this
receivers right
team.
now, but if they need to find depth, I think depth is there to find throughout the season at wide receiver, and I wouldn't worry about that if I was the Chargers.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially with this team where their timeline is at right now, you're in the third year of Herbert's 4-year contract. These are the 2 years.
Yeah.
These are the 2 years when you can win a Super Bowl, when you're going to have the easiest chance to win a Super Bowl. He's still on that rookie contract before the 5th-year option comes. Because once that 5th-year option hits, he gets a ton more expensive. And all of a sudden, you're having to change up your roster and how you're structuring everything.
Eckler is immediately gone at that point. And
yeah.
Austin Eckler, or not Austin Eckler, it's Hunter Samuel Jr. If he has the year he had last year before his injury, because he got hurt halfway through last year, and he was having an all-pro type season as a rookie, if he comes out and does that same thing again, he's going to want to get paid before he gets hurt again. So he's immediately going to want money. You just paid
I don't
JC
think
Jackson.
you can extend a guy on a rookie contract till after his 3rd season, so they can't extend him yet.
He'll be after his 3rd season at the end of the next year, which is when you're going to be looking at extending Herbert. So, and then you look, Joey Bosa already got paid. You just traded for Khalil Mack, one of the most expensive defense players in the league. Rashawn Slater.
The Bears ate a ton of that cap. He is a good value for them. He's got 2 more years, I think. So this year, next year.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the end of it. And you have Rashawn Slater, you have Keenan Allen, they already paid Mark Williams, who got a monster contract. So everybody they've needed to pay has already been paid. So they're all or nothing right now. And if they're all or nothing, if they're a wide receiver away halfway through the season, they'll go get a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. What wide receiver that is, I don't know.
I mean that'll all change throughout the year if they end up needing one. Who's in, who's out. That's all just speculation at that point.
The way this team is built, they have 3 years. 3 years being very being nice. They have 3 years.
Yeah.
In reality, they have 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
including this year, so their time is now.
Yeah. So if they need wide receiver help, they'll get it. They'll find it. They'll give up the necessary capital to go get it because you let 3 years down the road, Rashawn Slater has to be paid. Bosa may or may not be gone by that point because of how expensive he is. Sebastian Joseph Day is going to be gone. Khalil Mack will probably be gone. Gerald Everett will probably be gone. Keenan Allen will probably be gone. Austin Eckler will probably be gone. We're talking about a bulk of the starters on this team will be gone in the next 3 years.
It's be a completely different
their time
team.
Is now. Their time is absolutely now. So it's winter go home right now. But if you just look on paper, I don't think there's a better team on paper right now than the Los Angeles Chargers.
It's up there. I'll give you the argument's fair.
Hey, if you're a fan of the Chargers, let us know because I've never been a Charger fan in my entire life. And I've been a fan of the NFL for 30 years. I've never been a Charger fan. So if you're a fan of the Chargers, let us know in the comments. We'll give you a shout out. I mean, I'll invite you. I'll invite you to Texas if you want to come down to Texas. Well, I mean, I'll take you to a Cowboys game. We might drive up to maybe even a Houston Texans game. I don't know, but I've never been a Chargers fan in my life. So if you're a Chargers fan, let us know. I want to meet one because it's just so rare. It's what's the rarest Pokemon you could think of? Find a Mewtwo in the wild. You can't. Chargers fans just don't exist. They're not real. So if you're a Chargers fan, let us know. We'll shout you out. I want to meet a Chargers fan because life is rough. Life is rough as a Chargers fan. You got a ton of talent. You got the best team in football. You have the best team in football right now, and I still don't know a Chargers fan. So let us know. Shout out the boy. I want to meet a Chargers fan one time in my life.
Yeah. All right, who we got next?
How many Chargers fans do you know, Quentin?
None. I'm in the same boat as you.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Let us know. All right, Broncos. All right. Broncos. All right, let me know what you think here. I'll let you start because I think we're going to have wildly different opinions here.
I think we are too. I think this team's going to be good. Like, very, very
Like
good.
GUD good?
Yeah. Like, I think they're going to be top of the division. I think they're taking this division. I think
division?
I think we're talking a top 2 seed in the AFC. Good.
You're talking about the best team in the division good?
Yep.
All right.
I mean,
all right.
their offensive line is stacked and has depth. Huge things. You got Garrett Bowles, you got Dalton Risner, Lloyd Cushenberry. Rasner, excuse me.
Reisner.
Reisner. Graham Glasgow and Billy Turner. And then you got Quinn Miners just sitting on the bench, like trying to figure out what to do.
Beast.
Like, maybe he'll take someone's job. Cushenberry wasn't great last year, so maybe he'll take Cushenberry's job. Maybe he'll go in for Glasgow or Reisner. I don't know what they're going to do on the offensive line. They got 6 guys who are starting caliber players.
Yeah.
Albert O, I'm not even going to attempt to say his last name, but he is a very good tight end. He's been stuck behind Noah Fant. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, and then
Pookie Williams.
You got Pookie. And to top it off, you got Russ. Like, I know you were saying even pre-show Russ hasn't put together a full season.
Let's talk about it now. We didn't talk about it pre-show.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about it.
I don't care. That he hasn't, because this team is this is the best offensive line combined with skill players that he's ever had.
Hey, it's all on, like, okay. All right, let me get into it here. It's all on Russ from here. All right. Pookie Williams, I think, is going to be the best running back in football in 2022. I don't think anybody will even be able to hold a torch to him. I think this offensive line is perfectly set up for his skill set. If you're playing fantasy football and you're not taking Pookie Williams top 5 overall, you're a coward and a scoundrel. You don't need to be playing fantasy football.
Fool.
I think this dude is an absolute stud, and he's going to be available in every single fantasy football league, probably up to the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th pick. This is league winner. This is a league winner right here. Pookie Williams is a league winner. If I get the number 1 overall pick in fantasy football, I'm taking Pookie Williams. I guarantee it. And if you follow any of, we will do draft or
fantasy football draft.
We will do fantasy football coverage, and I guarantee you, my first overall pick will be Pookie Williams. I will say that out loud. I will say that to the crowds, because I think that's how good this kid is going to be. I've always loved Russell Wilson. He's always faded down the stretch. I don't know what to think about Jerry Jeudy. We'll see. Tim Patrick, they have a track team at wide receiver. Cortland Sutton, Albert O. They have a great offensive line. Russell Wilson's just never put it together for me. He's just never put it together. I don't have a lot of faith in this coaching staff. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Russell Wilson. This team screams 9-8 to me. Just a very mediocre average team at the end of the season. They have done everything right. They have constructed this team so perfectly to where you have no doubt in your mind that this should be a top 3 team in football. And for some reason, they cannot put it together. And in my mind, that is this team. There's a team every year that you look at on paper that's like, I don't understand how this team can't be a top 3 team in the league. And then you watch them play, and you're like, every single week by week, every single week, for some reason or another, they just can't get it done. And then every time they lose, you go into the next week saying, oh, they should have won last week if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for this. There's always a reason why they couldn't get it done week by week. That is the Denver Broncos. I don't know. There's just something about this team to me that just screams mediocre. That just screams 9-8. Like, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I love Russell Wilson. When Russell Wilson's with the Seahawks, I was begging for the Dallas Cowboys to make a trade for Dak Prescott, to trade for Russell Wilson. This is not I'm not hating on Russell Wilson. I'm not hating on Tim Patrick. I'm not hating on Jerry Jeudy. But the collective of this team just screams mediocre to me. And I don't know what it is about it, but it's just a gut feeling. just a gut feeling by me. I'm making a hard stance right now that this is a 500 team, and
So I'll agree with you on the coaching staff. They are one reason for me to pause. I was
I went hard right there. I apologize.
oh, it's fine. Uh, what's their head coach's name? Hackett. Hackett was a guy that I did
Nathaniel.
not
You can't be a head
fully
football coach's name.
get
Like
behind.
Nathaniel.
I had a hard time getting behind him when I was looking through head coaches, this head coaching candidates this offseason.
His name is Nathaniel.
Yeah.
I rest my case.
But honestly, I think the first year, coming off a disciplined regime, like Fangio, I imagine he was running a tight ship there. I don't know if Hackett will keep it up in year 2, year 3. But the first year, I think that ship's going to be run pretty tight, especially when you have a guy like Russ in the building who's putting in the work, putting in the hours, and setting the example of what's expected. I think they're going to be fine this year on the coaching front. Maybe they'll lose in the playoffs because of a bad clock management or something. I could definitely see that. But I just, like, looking at the defense, too, it's a big year for Bradley Chubb. He needs to show up big. They've been trying to replace him, or like trying to put some.
At some point.
Or I shouldn't say replace. They've been bringing competition for him between Randy Gregory. They drafted Nick Bonito. They drafted another guy last year, I believe, in the second or third round. So they're bringing in that competition on the edge. I'm not actually that big of a fan of Randy Gregory for the price that he got paid, but to each their own.
But I mean, in the 7 snaps he played in his career for the Dallas Cowboys, he was excellent.
And then just the combination of Simmons, Kareem Jackson, and Pat Surtain on the back end is filthy. I love Pat Surtain, dude. That guy is so good.
The both of us have been talking about Pat Surtain as like the next coming of Darrelle Revis for the past year and a half, and I don't think anybody can argue that Pat Surtain is the next star of football. I mean, in my opinion, he's better than Jalen Ramsey, projection wise. If you look at a career, and it's like I can get Jalen Ramsey at this point, at the point Jalen Ramsey is right now, which is a perennial all pro player, or I can get Patrick Surtain in his second year coming off injury. Give me Pat Surtain all day. I think Pat Surtain, and like I said, I already talked about Pookie Williams being the best running back in football. Like, I'm very high on the talent of this team. There's just I don't know what it is. Like, I can't even explain it. It's just a gut feeling, and maybe my gut feeling is wrong. But like, if I have a gut feeling, like, I want to express it to our listeners, because if you don't have that, what do you have? Because other than that, we're just spouting off facts that anybody can find on any site, and you look at this team, and on paper they should be great. This is every Dallas Cowboys team I've seen for the past 17 years of my life. Like, that's the best way I know how to explain it. Like, we should be good every year, and we're not. And this team screams like Dallas Cowboys mediocrity to me. And I don't know how else to explain it other than that. And I could be wrong.
It's actually a pretty convincing argument. That statement is actually a pretty solid one.
I have a pretty good radar for it, but like, that's the only way I know how to explain it. Other than that, like, because you look at the team and you think I'm a crazy person, and you think I'm just saying it for a hot take, and it's not a hot take. Like, I vehemently believe that, and at the same time, I also believe that these players can be great. Like, if we're looking at a fantasy football aspect, like, I think a lot of these players can be great in fantasy football. I'm just looking at wins and losses, and I see this team as a 9-8 team, and I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I love Russell Wilson. I love Jerry Jeudy. I love Tim Patrick, and Pookie Williams is one of my favorite players in the league right now. Like, I'm not going to be upset if this team does great. I'm just saying what I feel.
Yeah. I do think, not to get too much into schedule, but I think that they have the best home field advantage in the division, and I think that's really going to help them out.
I don't think you could ever say anybody in that division has a better home field advantage than the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I don't even care about opponents, but if you just talk about home field advantage, I feel like the Chiefs got that.
I don't know, man.
Even with Mile High, like the way I've heard former and ex players talk about their trips to Kansas City, like guys like Kyle Long, Chris Long, guys that are open about their experience, Ryan Fitzpatrick, guys that just openly talk about their experience in the NFL. Every single one of them talk about how hard it was playing in Kansas City for their first time. Aaron Foster, guys that I've heard specifically talking about how hard it is going to Arrowhead, and that means something. When you hear former pros, former great players just talk about how hard it is to play in Kansas City, it's hard to discount that as a home field advantage.
Okay.
And then
I'll give you that. I didn't think about Kansas City as that big of a home field advantage, but you're right. I overlooked them because I just didn't think about it that much.
Everybody I've ever heard talk about Denver as a home field advantage for the altitude, every single one of them say, like, yeah, it's tough until like the end of the first quarter. Like, it's always like, if you can weather the storm, like as long as you're in the game at halftime, it doesn't matter after that point because you feel it early. And then after that, you get used to it almost immediately. But by the time you get to the second half and everything, you've been there probably since Wednesday, so like you're kind of used to it. And then the game starts, and you're like, "Holy shit! Like this is different." But then everybody says like once the game goes on, by the time you get to the third, fourth quarter, it's not even an issue. And then everybody says like it's not loud or anything at that point. It's just not letting them get the jump on you. So that's what I've heard from former players.
But with this track squad,
it could be different. I mean, but let me say one thing about Russell Wilson. He's been a consensus top 5 quarterback for the past 7-8 years. He's never put a full season together ever. He's had the players. He's had guys around him. He's had the Marshawn Lynches. I mean, he's had the receivers. He's had the tight ends. He's never put a full season
line, but
okay. He's never had a whole line. So out of everything, he's never had a whole line. He's had the talent. He hasn't had the O line. Mm-hmm. So he has the O line now. He has no more excuses. If he doesn't put a full season together right now, then what is he? What? Honestly,
if he doesn't, he has to be knocked down a notch. I agree with you there. He needs to put it all together this year and prove it. Yeah, because it's a big question of who was carrying those Seahawks teams, the defense in the run game, or was Russ carrying them? You know, it's a big put up or shut up moment.
At his, I wouldn't go that far because at his best, we've seen him sling the ball like an all-time great. We've also seen him play as mediocre as a Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
So, at what point is what it is where he can, to me, in my mind, Russell Wilson at this point in his career is, his ceiling is an all-time great. His floor is a Ryan Fitzpatrick type to where it's like, on his worst day, it's a hit or miss. He could be great. He could be mediocre. He could be bad on his worst days. When he's on, and nobody can stop him. But when he has a bad day, his bad days can be good, but his bad days can also be a 4 interception, horrendous day.
So you asked at what point? I say, now. This year. This is it. If he can't make the playoffs with this team, it's time to knock him down a notch.
Okay, so what if he goes, hypothetically speaking, let's say he throws 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 4,000 yards, 67% completion percentage. He goes 9-8 and misses the playoffs. That's about as average as you can get in today's NFL.
That's average. I'm a Bears fan. I'm thinking like 20-10.
I mean, that's Hall of Fame. That's Hall of Fame numbers for a Bears quarterback. I'll tell you that. But
I mean, honestly, yeah. If they're
division.
9-8, it's all for naught. It's who cares if you're 9-8 and miss the playoffs. You put up pretty numbers. You need to win games.
Let's say they had four losses that were less than a point or less than 2 points.
Then you just need more context with it. 'Cause it's not as black and white.
But
once you start adding nuance, you need more nuance. Right? You need to watch. You need to see the games. You need to see what happened. Like, did they lose on a busted coverage in 3 of those games, or like in the last seconds? Like, it just becomes so much more nuanced when you start throwing any nuance into it.
Okay, so I guess that's where we differ, because to me, that's what this team is. This team is losing a bunch of close games down to the last second. And I feel like that's just Russell Wilson. Let's show up at this point. Like, he's good, not great. And nobody on this team is a game changer to me. And they have all the talent in the world to win more games than they lose. And winning more games than you lose is going 9-8.
I mean, I just think Russ is going to be more than a 3-game bump for them.
Okay, so do we have the win total on this team?
Yeah, 10.5.
10.5. I will hammer that under.
I won't hammer the under. I probably won't touch it because 10.5 is just a.
You think they'll win 11 games? 10.5.
I think they're as likely to win 11 as they are 9.
So 10-7 or 11-6. And you like 11-6 better than 10-7?
No, I said I won't touch it.
No, I'm saying if you had to choose between 11-6 and 10-7, you're taking.
If I have to choose, I'm taking the over at the plus money.
All right. Well, we'll move on. Like I said, we're talking about the entire division after we've talked about all the teams. We're talking about the best quarterback in football. We're talking about Patty Mahomes, boy. We're talking about the dude who can sling it from all over the football field, yo. We're talking about the dude, 20-yard drop back pass, flick of the wrist, 40-yard fuck bomb to whoever's down the field. It don't matter. We're talking about Patty Mahomes. We're talking about the best quarterback in football. It don't matter who else is on the team. We're talking about the generational talent, the icon, the Super Bowl champion, the MVP of the league, Patty Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs.
If you threw a few dangles in there, you'd sound just like Boomhauer.
But I mean, I tried. I don't know how much King of the Hill fans we have. I actually dropped an F-bomb in there, and I apologize to our younger audience. Patrick Mahomes just gets me fired up. That's my boy. That's my boy, Patty Mahomes. I apologize to our listeners at home, but that's my boy, Patty Mahomes. And I will not apologize for loving Patty Mahomes.
No one ever should. I mean, the Chiefs are going to be in the playoff. They got Pat Mahomes. That's all. They're going to make the playoffs. I mean, you look at the odds; it's minus 226 for them to make the playoffs. You're not making jack on a bet for them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Let's just go here. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, All Pro. McCole Hardman, All Pro. Juju Smith-Schuster, All Pro. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, All Pro. Orlando Brown, All Pro. Joe Tooney, All Pro. Creed Humphrey, All Pro. Like, I mean, the biggest weakness is quarterback and Patrick Mahomes, and he's the best quarterback in football. So it's like, I mean, 16-1.
So I do like the Juju signing a lot. I think Juju and Kelsey's going to be a real nice combo for them this year. Hardman is what he is. He's going to take the top off a few defenses.
Low key. If we're talking, like, kind of mentioned fantasy football a little bit earlier. I'm kind of risky when it comes to fantasy football. Like, I take big risk in the draft for guys that end up being top 5 at their position at the end of the year. And if I don't draft well, I just call it quits on the season because, like, I'm not going to pay enough attention to where it's going to matter week 6, week 7, where I'm, like, really fighting the waiver wire. Like, my season is, like, I'm make or break on the draft. Like, I take guys in the 2nd, 3rd round that, like, could be, like, possibly be there in the 6th, 7th, but like I trust myself and I trust my board. And if you're talking to me right now, I had Juju Smith-Schuster as a top 7 wide receiver in fantasy this year. Top
He's gonna get the
7.
catch. He's gonna get the
7.
targets.
I'm talking. If he's there at 17 in a fantasy football draft, if it's a PPR league, it's a no-brainer guarantee you go get Juju at 17. And if he gets a second past 17, you're absolutely insane for taking anybody over him. And I'm talking about guys like I don't even know who else is in that range right now. Like you talk some running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers. Like if Juju Smith-Schuster is there in a PPR league past 15 and you don't take him, you will regret that for the rest of fantasy football season. This is a guy that's going to have 8 catches, 150 yards, and a couple of touchdowns every game of the week. Like,
you heard it here first. That was 34 touchdowns on the season?
At least, minimum. Like, you look at his early years when Ben Roethlisberger still had an arm in Pittsburgh, and this dude was tearing it up. He's a great route runner. He's got the speed to take the top off.
Well, even more than when Roethlisberger still had an arm, when he still had Antonio Brown taking pressure off of him like Travis Kelce is going to be doing.
Yeah. Or when you had it like, so you look at Patrick Mahomes' arm, he can get the ball anywhere he wants. Like, Juju has been so inhibited the last 2 years by Ben Roethlisberger's ability. Like, you put this dude and a guy, like, yeah, he likes to dance. Like, he might be making TikToks on the sideline with Patrick Mahomes' brother. That's fine. This dude is a stud. People were talking about Juju Smith-Schuster as one of the premier wide receivers in the league 3 years ago. Early in his career with Ben Roethlisberger, people were talking about this dude as like the next great wide receiver.
Also,
he fell off due to Ben Roethlisberger, in my opinion.
Think about it this way, too. I'm pretty sure he's on a 1-year deal. It doesn't pay him a whole lot. And he's trying to get that next payday. There's a reason he went to KC to play with Mahomes and try to get that next payday.
He's playing with the best quarterback in football.
Yeah. And Valdez-Scantling and Hardman, they're going to play a role. I mean, they're not going to be volume guys, but these two guys are going to make it so you have your safeties having to help on both sides on every play. They're going to keep the safeties honest at all times because they have that speed that is just, it's hard to match. They're both 4-3 guys.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling signing with the Chiefs is a little weird because I think Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers are essentially the same quarterback right now. There's not a whole lot of difference you're getting there. I mean, Rodgers may or may like you can like if you're a Packers fan and you want to get your pennies up in a bunch, you want to come argue with me that Rodgers is better. Fine, like I really don't care. Like I really don't care to have that argument. Like they're the same player except Mahomes is younger. So this is a weird move for me for MBS. Like I don't know what there is to prove. He didn't sign a mega deal. Like I understand
Packers couldn't pay him. They had no cap space.
And also, I mean, I understand not wanting to play in Green Bay. It's probably the worst city. It's not even probably. It is the absolute worst city to play in the NFL. Like, and if you're a Packers fan, like, and you can't acknowledge that, like,
I love hearing that.
Like, if it wasn't for Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, like, you'd be a dumpster fire of an organization. Like, nobody wants to play there. It's a shithole place in the middle of Wisconsin. Like, the weather is absolutely awful. It's a town slightly bigger than Midland, Texas. Like it's absolute shithole. Like nobody wants to play in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Like I'm sorry. Like I know you would sitting on your couch, like eating like 4 pounds of like Cheeto Puffs a day, but like nobody cares about Green Bay, Wisconsin except Packers fans. Like I'm sorry. Like when Aaron Rodgers leaves, if Jordan Love's not good, like nobody's gonna go. You'll never get a quarterback unless you can draft one. And like you've got lucky on you got Bart Starr, you got Brett Favre, you got Aaron Rodgers. Like the luck's eventually gonna end. Like I'm sorry, like that's a pre-rant to the NFC North that we'll have in a couple of weeks. But like, I'm sorry, Packers fans. Like, if you're ride or die at Green Bay, like nobody wants to play in Green Bay. Like they haven't landed a freaking free agent signing since Nam. Like nobody cares about that place. But good for Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He went and got good barbecue in Kansas City. But so we've kind of gone through all four teams now. So let's talk about winners and losers of the division. Let's talk a little win totals. We'll go back to the beginning where we started with the Raiders. Now that we've talked about all four teams, Josh McDaniels and the boys over there in Las Vegas. And now that we've talked about all four, you still think they're the worst team in the division?
Third or fourth?
Third or fourth. Okay, so we're talking. I think we can both agree that Chargers and Chiefs 1 and 2 in one form or another. Or do you think Denver is above the Chargers? Or do you think Denver is above the Chiefs?
It's tough.
And the Chargers.
I think Denver wins the division, and KC
Let me hear your
and
1 through 4. Let me hear your 1 through 4.
So I think Denver wins the division. I think KC and Chargers both make the playoffs, and it's interchangeable. They're going to be somewhere very similar. And I think the Raiders are going to end up like just being the one that's left out.
So you're telling me 3 teams make the playoffs out of this division. And we argued not even 3 weeks ago about the AFC East and the AFC South when I was like, the AFC West has 3 teams that can make the playoffs. And you're like, oh, no, 3 teams ain't making the playoffs in the AFC West. That's impossible. And now we're here 3 weeks in the future, and you're telling me that 3 teams are going to make the playoffs.
I don't recall this conversation.
Yeah, when we were talking Texans and Colts and Titans, you're like, oh yeah, the Jaguars can make it at 8 and 9. Like they can make it at 9 and 8. Like they can make the playoffs here because there won't be 3 teams for the AFC West.
No, I think it was.
I specifically asked you about the AFC West, and you're like, no, I think they can still make it. And you said that about both the AFC East and the AFC South.
I think anything can happen.
Well, I mean,
if a quarterback gets injured, everything changes. That's what I'm arguing.
Let's get some wild takes.
Stuff can happen.
Yeah, stuff can. Yeah, that's a wild take. Like anything can happen.
But so I wasn't actually saying if everything stays exactly the way it's supposed to, day one on paper. No, those divisions aren't getting 3 teams. The AFC West is by far the best division in football. They're the one that has a real chance at 3 teams.
Every AFC discussion I've been saying, like, we have the AFC West there, and you're like, oh, well, 2 teams can make it here, 2 teams can make it here, 2
teams can. There's 3 wild card spots.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. 2 teams, not 3.
If 3 teams make it out of the West, that leaves 1 team left for the South,
card.
The East, and the West.
Yeah. One of those teams can make it. I don't know which one, but one of them will.
You talked about 2 or 3 teams from every division right now that have been able to make it out of the AFC, and then we get to the AFC West, and you're like, oh, these 3 teams are going to make it. So
I'm handicapping at what?
We're looking at 4 teams.
A team in the AFC North has maybe a 30% shot at getting one of those wild cards. There are 3 teams in the AFC West to me that have over a 50% chance at making the playoffs. That doesn't mean the other doesn't have a chance. They do.
All right,
they can. But if putting my money on it, which division's going to get 3, it's the AFC West. That doesn't mean the others don't have a chance. That doesn't mean I'm not saying that they like that. You're twisting my words here, man.
I'm not trying to twist your words. I'm just saying we've been talking about the AFC for the past 4 weeks, and every time you brought up like, oh, I think both of these teams can make it out of this division. Every single time I brought up like, well, what about the AFC West? And like your rebuttal every single time has been like, oh, 3 teams won't make it from the West, and now we get to the West, and you're saying 3 teams will make it.
You know what? I'm going back and listening. I'm going back and listening for this.
I can't quote you word for word, but I've given you pushback every single time you brought it up because I'm like AFC's tough. Like look at the AFC West, and you're like every single time it's been some sort of oh well that's every year. Look at the Raiders last year; they made it at 8-9 or 9-8.
They did.
Whatever it was.
Because there's 3 wild card spots.
Look at you bringing it back. Look at you bringing it back again, and I'm always
there's 3 wild card spots, not 2. There's 3.
Yeah. So if 3 teams make it from the West, that leaves one other wild card team between the North. When you look at the Patriots, when you look at the so you got Patriots, Bengals. I mean, we've already gone through all the other teams. But every division is at least 3 teams deep. If you look at the North, South, and the East, every division's 3 teams deep. You can't pick just 2 teams from every division, and then 3 teams from the AFC West, and be like they're all gonna make it. It's impossible.
No, I'm gonna lay more bets to make the playoffs than 3 teams that I don't think are going to win the division because it's all plus money that I'm laying. Why would I only lay 3? That's just that would be dumb. Why would I limit myself there?
You got to put your foot down and just have some conviction.
I am convicted of betting 6 teams at plus money to make the playoffs, and if 2 of them make it, I'm probably making money.
Give me your 7 teams on the AFC right now.
I don't even have it in front of me.
Give it to me.
Nah.
No, I don't want the numbers. I just want Quentin's gut feeling. 7 teams. We'll start AFC North. Go.
AFC North. See, so Ravens, Steelers, Bengals. I'm going Bengals and Ravens make the playoffs.
Bengals and Ravens. All right, we got 2 out of the 7. AFC South. Go.
Colts.
Just Colts. Okay, we got 3 out of the 7. AFC East, go.
Bills.
Bills, nobody else.
Nope.
All right, AFC West.
Denver, Chargers, and KC.
All right, so we got Bills, Colts, Ravens. Who are the other 4? Bills, Colts, Ravens, Broncos, Bengals, Chiefs. So Bills, Colts, Ravens, Broncos, Bengals, Chiefs. I actually don't hate that. But if you look back on our previous podcast, you talked about Patriots making it. You talked about who else?
Yeah, because the Patriots do have a chance to make it. It's a good bet.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the teams you gave me right now are a lot better than I thought. I was about to have to bury you right there, but I feel like you did a pretty good job. But like, oh yeah, you basically told me, like, I told you I would take the Titans to miss the playoffs at plus 120, and you said I would never bet. You didn't name the Titans right there. And I told you Titans was a great bet to miss the playoffs.
Because I think they have like a 40% chance to make the playoffs, and I don't think that's a good bet.
We were talking value, and I said Titans missing the playoffs is great value, and you disagreed with me when we talked.
I still
AFC
disagree.
South.
I don't think it's great value. I think the AFC South is extremely unpredictable this year.
But you didn't name them in your 7 teams.
No, I didn't. I think they have a good shot. I think they have as good of a shot as the Colts. I think it's a toss-up between the 2.
But you think it's good enough value to at least bet on them to miss the playoffs at plus money?
Wait, I do or I don't?
You said the 7 teams you just gave me didn't include the Titans. And when we talked the AFC South, when I said the Titans missing the playoffs was good value, you told me no.
I don't think it is good value because I think they have almost as good of a shot as the Colts to make the playoffs, and Matt Ryan is about 40 years old.
But missing the playoffs, we're talking about value. We're not talking about actualities here. We're talking about value. And I said it's good value that they missed the playoffs because the division is so hard, and I don't think there's going to be two teams from that division that make the playoffs. And then you said I could see two teams making the playoffs from that division, and I said I think only the division winner. But then
you can't. I'm not putting my bets in a vacuum here and saying it's only this division. Like
I'm just saying you can't bet on every team in the AFC to make the playoffs and be like, oh, I called it.
I could bet on half of them.
I mean, I guess
if the money's right on the return.
Yeah,
it's all about finding the right returns. Like
I guess that's where we differ because like you're very analytical. You look at every plus sign down to the dollar to where like you can bet on half the teams, and then at the end of the season be like, I came out ahead, and you very well like that is the math side of you. That's where we differ. To where me, I just have a hard stance approach where like I'm drawing clear lines. Like this is this and this is that. And I guess that's where we just disagree. And that's okay. That's what makes us so great. That's why we can talk ball back and forth every single day and disagree on things because like I'm sitting here asking you to draw a hard line and you're still telling me like I can still make money doing this.
Yeah, you can. There's money to be made. That's my goal in betting is to make money, not to be right.
And I respect that 1,000%. I have to draw a hard line. For me, it's not about the money. It's about being right and wrong. And like I'm drawing a hard line. I want to sit there at the end of the season being like, I called it. Like the Broncos didn't make the playoffs. Like I made a hard stance against the Broncos that they weren't gonna make it, that they weren't there, and they didn't make the playoffs. Like I want to be able to hold that in my back pocket whenever everything's running December, January, February, everything, whenever everybody's talking about this season with Russell Wilson. I want to be like, I was the first one there being like, it wasn't happening. You were a 500 team. Like, and that's the difference between us because you do make more money than me in a vacuum. Absolutely. Because you do manage your money much better than me in gambling aspect. But I would, and in my
mind,
hit
bigger than I do.
I do. I have hit bigger than you plenty of times, but you consistently hit more than I do. And that's the difference. Like I'm drawing hard lines. Like hard lines. Like I'm drawing a line in the sand and be like, this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's what I tried getting you to do, and I couldn't get you to do it. And I respect you for not doing it because I came at you hard right there.
Yeah. Yeah. My brain don't work like that.
And that's what makes us a good cohesive unit. And that's the Shannon Points podcast. I don't know. I mean, we're an hour and 10 minutes in. I don't know how much you were expecting to get out of this. Like, should we go deeper or should we just end it right there?
I think we're good. We're good where we're at.
We're more than happy to dive in deeper. You just gotta leave us a comment below, like and subscribe. Let us know what you want to hear, and we may give you an individual shout out to where we just get on and talk your comment for maybe 5 minutes. And post it on the TikTok, maybe post it on the YouTube, maybe post it on the Instagram, give you a quick little shout out, and maybe argue your one specific point. If you're like, this dude don't know what he's talking about, Denver's the best team in the league, I'll debate anybody on that. But give us a like, give us a subscribe, comment below who's going to win the NFC West because nobody knows who's going to win the NFC or AFC West. Scratch that. Scratch that. AFC West. Like, subscribe, give us a comment who's going to win the AFC West, and we may pick your comment and give you a live video reaction to it. So let us know what you think, and don't forget, don't sleep on the lines.
Don't do it.